You want to just get into it?
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna stop and start on the road, so I have a marker from it. I'm already rolling on my Zoom here. You know, it's funny. I never really used the Zoom anymore. I mean, other than any case. Stand by. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I think you need to say clearly what happened.
Who gives a fuck? I don't care if you personally kick Candace Owens and her stinky
cray.
No good thing starts with, I was thinking about my ex.
He ain't learned his lesson. That's a brother ain't gonna learn shit.
I know this is gonna be unpopular, and I don't care.
Let's keep this shit funky.
What's happening? What's unpopping? What's craculating, good people? Welcome to Welcome to Unpopin Show, home of unpopular opinions. I am T Storm, and joined by, as always, my brother DJ Mike Swift. What's up, fam?
What's going on, brother? I was sitting here trying to think of something clever to say in the open. I got nothing. Let's continue.
I think that will do. Thank you so much. Lot going on. So, okay, in case people, if you hear my phone go off, we're recording this today on February 6th. Happens to be the day of my birth. And bunch of family and friends and close family, have been texting and calling me. So there's a chance that I may get interrupted as we record this. So we'll just roll with it. But I want to shout out my nephews. Well, all of my family is calling. Love all of you. But it was particularly pretty cool because I have twin nephews, two 9-year-old nephews, Preston and Parker, who called me from an unknown number. And I'm like, okay. I answered, and there's this little voice on the other phone. Hi, happy birthday. I'm like, thank you. Who is this? It's Preston. Oh, hi, Preston, Parker. What's up? They're 9. They got phones, and they call me. So I'm talking. I'm having a cool convo with them, and their mom is like, who are you on the phone with? It's like, oh, Uncle T. She's like, I didn't know they called on their own. It was really, really, really sweet. They're very talented young men. They are in the arts as well. They've been doing like stage plays and stuff like that. So I've gotten to see them. But we went a couple of years. Well, was it during the pandemic? I can't remember now. Shoot, everything is blended together. But they did a presentation of Frozen on stage in their town, upstate New York. So I'm looking forward to see them in the next thing. But I just want to say, thank Preston and Parker. Thank you so much. That was really sweet that they called. And I promised them, I said to them, and I'm saying it on the show too. I said that, I have to take them paintballing. And to remind me if it don't, like when the weather breaks, if it gets warm, and if it's taking me too long to say, hey guys, let's go, they have permission to bug me about it. So I really meant that, guys. So thank you so much again.
And, for the record, for all you freaks out there, is paintballing with the guns where you shoot at other people, not that mess y'all into on the weekends. So, yeah.
On the weekends? I haven't lived enough then. That's I don't know how to adjust to that one. A little more personal story here. So I think Mike, you and I, we've talked about this off camera. But I recently hired a trainer, and pursuing some fitness goals as I'm a few more stops close to the 50, and I want to get back into a better shape and not just the oval one that I'm currently in. So it's serious.
Round is a perfectly good shape, bro. I'm just
round is a great shape. I've had this shape for a while now, and I'm ready to trade it in. So I want to do something different. So shout out to my homie Tasha. Tasha Fit Faith is training me virtually, and it's going good. She doing the whole meal planning thing as well. So like I'm on my first week, and she has me on this detox where I'm not eating a bunch of different things. It's a very, very, very strict diet just for the first week. And I have noticed already I have shaved like 4 pounds.
Damn.
Just in like 2 days.
So what
2
is
days.
it? What is it that you can't eat?
Right now, okay, nothing, no sugar. Only sweeteners I'm using is honey.
Okay.
I'm drinking a lot of different teas. There's instead of saying what I can't eat, I can tell you what I am eating. So like fruits and vegetables, very specific fruits and vegetables, leafy greens and stuff like that. Protein shakes, which I just finished one for this morning. Something else I'm missing. Oh, I could eat fish and seafood and stuff like that. So I had salmon last night, which was really good. But no, you know, replacing the types of carbs. Like I stopped eating rice on my own, but there's a bunch of other stuff that I was eating that, yeah, obviously was, you know, not helping me. So it's going good. It's going good. I don't feel tired. It's just having to eat every 2 hours is weird for me.
Yeah.
Because every 2 hours, and then we're home. So every 2 hours I have to make a meal for myself. Like this sucks.
Yeah.
I gotta make something every 2 hours.
I think the idea behind it is to kick your metabolism into high gear, always kind of processing and working. So when I was in the height of my best shape I'd ever been in my life, actually, it was some years ago. I was eating, it wasn't quite every 2 hours, but it was something like 5 meals a day.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
the irony to it, I was always hungry. Always hungry.
Really?
Yes. But they weren't big meals, right? It was, you know, something small. But I was always hungry, man. I would eat, and 30 minutes later, my body would process that and be like, all right, what else you got?
Hey, what we doing now? What we doing here? What we doing?
Them cookies looking real delicious.
Right. Yeah, I had to, you know, so I have to be very conscious of everything I'm eating and honest about everything I'm eating. And so I've already cheated on my diet. I had 2 salt and vinegar chips. Just 2. I had just 2, and I was like, okay, that's enough. And I put it down. It was like, yeah. So I got a little tongue lashing about that, but you know, for the most part, I've stuck to it. It's not been, again, this is the first week, and this is like, you know, today being the 6th of February, it's maybe day 3, Friday, Saturday. Yep, day 3. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what, you know, how well, you know, I can do with this and how fast I can pull off. Because I think the goal for the first week was like 5 pounds, she said. And then she said also, don't be surprised if you shave like 10. Like the first week, don't be surprised. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But I'm at 4. Look, that's in 3 days. Tasha Fit Faith, if you're out there, if you're looking for a trainer virtually, hit her up and work out your details with her. And she has a very, very good program. Last time I worked with her was about 10 years ago, right before Kaylee and I both worked with her. She trained us both before our wedding, and she don't play. It's like paying for torture, but it's to benefit you.
This is sounding real good to me, because if you can eat a couple of chips and get a tongue lashing, I'm buying a whole damn bag. And
no, wait.
And I'm paying for torture. Send me her IG.
Fail. No, that's not where we're going with this. I'm just saying. Hey, listen, you get out of it whatever you want to get out of it. That's what it is.
It sounds like my kind of program. And see, you were thinking then you could say you can get out of it whatever you put into it. And I'm like, that's also my type of program.
Dude.
I have a talent. I can turn just about anything dirty.
I still do that too. It's funny. So I get to tell my wife dirty jokes that I can't say out in public. So I get to say anything. And somehow I perverted the little emoji of a cow. I don't know how I did this or why I did this. I don't even remember what it means anymore. But I'd send an emoji, like, you know, you send these different emojis. You send love emoji and all that. And, you know, they got the eggplant emoji. I send a cow. And it means something dirty. I don't know exactly what it means. It's just funny that you did take a cow emoji and pervert it. That's all.
I've got some ideas. we'll leave that.
Right. Thank you. All right.
I know we got some things to talk about, T. Before we jump into those, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. I wanted to touch on the don't weigh me cards.
Yes.
So
the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
But you have the floor, sir.
No, so it's just kind of real quick. You know, I've come on here a number of times and I have said, you know, openly how I'm just frustrated with black cinema. And when we get an opportunity to make something, what do we make and that kind of thing. Right. And, you know, we've been off for a while. I was in Las Vegas for about a week, so couldn't really record or do anything. So on my
hookers didn't want to be on camera. That's what that meant.
No, I tried, you know. Like it's a legitimate show. You keep your pants on. Why would you do that? So on the flight to Las Vegas, I binge watched the Netflix show True Story. It's Wesley Snipes, Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart essentially plays himself in the movie or in the series, but it was really, really good. It was, to me, the example of what I've been talking about. When you get an opportunity to tell a story, you can tell the same mystery, intrigue type of stories that other groups tell and put a spin on it to make it digestible to your community and it still be really good. So I'm saying this to say, if you haven't watched True Story, watch True Story. It is so good. I am disappointed in Netflix a little bit for not heavily promoting it. Like I remember seeing a little bit about it here and there, but they didn't really promote it. But it is worth the watch. I think it's about 6 or 7 episodes. The first episode, they spend a considerable amount of time kind of establishing the universe and the characters. But once that's done, it's off to the races, man. And it's really good. So I gotta give it another watch. I gotta check it out again because I think when I watched it, I watched maybe the first 3 episodes. It exhausted me because I guess I'm looking at it realistically, some of the decisions that the characters were making and the things that they were saying. And I'm like, we wouldn't say that. I wouldn't do that. I couldn't suspend my disbelief long enough. You know what I mean? Yeah. I couldn't suspend reality like this. You know what I mean? I get it's a fantasy world. It's not really Kevin Hart. It's a fictional comedian and his brother that just, you know what I mean? I get all that. I'm trying not to give away spoilers, but it just exhausted me to the point where I was like, really? All right. I think really there's something about Kevin Hart that makes me suspend disbelief.
Really?
Yeah, and that's not a diss or a knock. Okay. It's just something about him that when he's in something, I just suspend disbelief. It's just I don't look for it to be in any way like an accurate reflection of anything or something like that. It's just like, oh, this is Kevin Hart, you know. Okay. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It was old. It had old school television cliffhanger where when one goes off, you're like, okay, well, I got to watch the next one now. I got to see what happened. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. And in that vein, Raising Dion season 2 is out. I haven't watched it yet, but I thoroughly enjoyed season 1. The kid was a little annoying because he can't really act, but other than that,
you're not supposed to say that about kids.
Why not? They might need to make some adjustments to their career. Better to know when you're 8 than when you're 58.
Well, I'm trying to think. Who did that pan out for? Who can't act that's still around making movies? I won't say any names. Any case.
Because it's a list.
There is a list. Back on the Kevin Hart show, I have to mention that Wesley Snipes is phenomenal. And that, his performance, first of all, I think he's one of the most underrated actors out. And he does it all. Everything from superhero stuff to action movies to dramas to comedy. Like he has great comedy chops. Like his comedic timing is perfect. And he can go toe to toe with anyone. So I think Wesley Snipes is by far the best thing that happened to that series. So, you know what I mean? Just
don't take tax advice from him. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's not. He did crack a joke in the Expendables one of the Expendables series, because he gets out of jail in that movie, and they go, "What were you in jail for?" He said, "Tax evasion." He did acknowledge it.
You got to be able to laugh at yourself.
Yeah, I think he's a cat that has a pretty good sense of humor, and it seems like a real dude. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the cats you chop it up with in the barbershop.
Yeah.
Like real, like I know these type of dudes. You know what I mean? So
yeah. All right. So moving on to our next story, which we were just bantering just now, or I guess our first story then. And let's just pull it up. Yet another piece of evidence of why our country is going down the toilet. There are now.
Go ahead. Which evidence? I'm waiting with bated breath.
There's now a ton of interest in these "please don't weigh me unless it's really medically necessary" cards. These are real things.
That's a real thing.
What's happening is these cards are being printed. Folks are taking them to their medical professionals. They're going in for their annual checkup. Maybe they have a bit of a cold or whatever. And when you go in the doctor, they take your blood pressure, they weigh you, they check your height, they do your vitals, right?
Right.
These folks are triggered that the doctors are asking for their weight enough to create this card to give to the doctor to say, "Don't weigh me," because it's triggering. And I think that, so I think the primary thing is it's triggering to them, right? They don't like to be asked their weight. They know that they're overweight just in general. But they're trying to spin it medically and say the doctor's preoccupation with their weight will make them overlook the actual cause of some negative condition that this person is going in. Meaning they will just attribute the negative to the weight and not really do the proper examination. I'm so irritated by this, right?
All right. Okay. As a person that is currently overweight, yes, it's triggering to look at a scale that looks back at you and says, "God damn, one at a time." It's very triggering. It's very triggering to have to, look. But medical thing so overlooking other medical issues and just attributing it to your weight that's what they're
right.
saying
So as an example, let's say somebody goes in and they something's wrong with their heart. My heart feels weird, my chest feels weird, and the doctor weighs them and the scale says, you're 5'1" and you're 285. So the doctor will say, well, you need to lose weight. And that's your problem. Instead of doing an EKG, doing a stress test, doing some blood work to make sure there's nothing going on there. They're just saying that doctors will just say, oh, it's your weight and move on and not do their due diligence. To that, I say BS.
Yeah, I'm no doctor, but I do understand the difference. You know, I get the correlation between weight and heart failure and issues with your heart and different things that you're doing. Like, if I use myself as an example, I'm heavy now. I'm the heaviest I've ever been. I won't say the number because it may actually weigh the camera down. But what I will say is I do know the difference of when I was a smaller and able to do certain physical activities and not be winded and not feel, you know, super exhausted or not feel heavy. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it has to do with your weight. Your blood pressure is directly tied to it. Like, putting stress on your heart. Your heart has to work harder because you're heavier. Like, these people are crazy. It's a very interesting. Listen, as long as I would say keep that away from children, because that's really stupid and dangerous. You know, at this point, people get to do what they want. Like, if you want to walk around with a card that says, "Hey, don't weigh me," also develop a card that says, don't take my blood pressure, or don't take my blood, or don't check my eyes, or don't check my. Matter of fact, you will attribute it to something else. Like, come on, it's really silly.
You know, so, you know, and I didn't plan on telling this story, but as we talk through it, it's like, maybe this story can help somebody, right? Dramatic weight loss or dramatic weight gain without purposeful intent can be indicative of a condition that is serious, right? That could end your life. God, I don't think I ever told you this. It happened right before I started over at Hot. My weight dramatically increased over a very short amount of period of time. I was not feeling well at all. Went into my doctor, and I didn't know my weight had dramatically increased because I wasn't weighing myself. Right? You know, you go in, they take your vitals and they write it down or whatever. You come back, they take your vitals and they just, you know, check. Well, I wasn't feeling well. I went back and went into the doctor. They took my vitals. They checked. They were like, dude, you've gained 25 pounds it was something like 2 months.
Wow. And
I wasn't feeling well, started running tests. My body started shutting down. I wound up in the hospital for a good little while. Nobody knew what was happening with me. I saw 3 or 4 different doctors. And then we finally figured out what it was. I have hypothyroidism. So, you know, that chemical in my body was not there in enough amounts. Right. So, I got on the medication. I've been on the medication since then. I'm fine. But if it wasn't a benchmark to say this is what you were and this is where you are, we may have never discovered it, right?
Right.
And it was a pretty severe case. So look, I say this. You get to live the life you want to live. You get to feel how you want to feel, but be careful the choices that you're making, right? Because you don't want to feel bad about something that you know is an issue, right?
Yeah.
You could be putting your life in danger. Your doctor is not there to judge you. Your doctor is not there to make you feel bad. Your doctor is there to make sure you stay alive. So,
right.
You know.
Yeah. It's very interesting to see, you know, to hear these type of stories, you know, people coming up. But you know what it makes? Without rules in place, we spiral out of control. Like, you know, there's actually a law saying do not have sex with animals because somebody actually probably did it. You know, that's a law because somebody actually did it and they had to go, no, you shouldn't do that. So I guess as a society, we're not that bright. We need guidance to go, no, you shouldn't do that. That's not a good idea. And these are the type of things that happen if those things aren't in place. I don't know.
Look, and we'll put a bow tie on it. If your doctor is doing those kinds of things, right? Because I'm not saying every doctor won't. Every doctor isn't great. There are some C students who became doctors, right? If your doctor is doing that kind of thing, right? If they are ignoring what you are saying about your health, I don't feel good, right? Because you know you better than anybody can. If they are ignoring you, they are not doing the proper tests, then you have to be your number one health advocate. And you have to say, okay, either you do these tests, you help try to figure out what's going to make me feel better, or I will take my money and my insurance money somewhere else to somebody who will. Don't, I mean, there's some messed up doctors out there. Don't keep giving them your money.
Right. You have a choice.
You do.
You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I understand there is a thing where, especially within our community, with the African American community, where, you know, some of the things that we complain about to the doctor, they may not take seriously sometimes. Like that had been a thing, especially when it comes to Black women, women's health. And, you know, there's a whole, I don't have the stats in front of me, but that is a real thing. But don't weigh me. Stop it. Stop it. I really want to say something that would be so offensive to, you know, but I don't want to get Joe Rogan. So it's not even, I'm not going to say it.
Oh, Joe Rogan. Oh, Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. Joe Rogan. They are coming after Mr. Joe Rogan.
Oh, yeah. And he's deserved. I was a fan of Joe Rogan. And still am to a certain degree, because, you know, he's not stupid.
No.
He's a really bright guy. He really, and, you know, and some of the things and stuff he says is on purpose. He's, as a comic, I watched him go, I watched the videos of him going after Carlos Mencia, who, you know, people have been saying, and I'm not trying to disparage Mr. Carlos Mencia at all. I've actually worked with him. I've met him. He let me open up for him at Caroline's. I have no issues with Carlos Mencia. I just wanted to put that out there. Actually, I appreciate him. But I watched, like, I saw those videos of Joe Rogan, like, going to a venue where Carlos Mencia was performing and challenging him and his material, saying that he had stolen material. And this went on for a while. And then Carlos Mencia just, you know, left off the scene for a while. I don't know if the allegations were true or not, but whatever the case. But Joe Rogan was in the middle of that. And then to watch him on Fear Factor and realize that he was a comic, and, you know, and all the fight, mixed martial art,
UFC, MMA, commentary,
UFC, all those different things. He's had a pretty good. He's transitioned quite a few different things, and passionate for all of it, right? And then to turn his podcast into a multi-million-dollar thing, it's a beautiful thing.
His deal with Spotify is like $100 million deal.
Yeah. And I had never really listened to his podcast before. I wasn't, you know, I would see clips here and there, but I know he had been doing it for a while. I had never listened to it. But to see when India Arie, like, first it started with his COVID-19. They say he was responsible for misinformation around COVID-19. And who were the artists? Was it Jody Mitchell and somebody else that came out and said they wanted their music? It was a bunch of artists that said they wanted to remove their music. A couple old school folks. Where is it? Neil Young came out first, and then Joni Mitchell followed suit, and I think it was some other folks who jumped on that bandwagon. And basically they said, we'll remove our music from Spotify if you don't do something about Joe Rogan. Yeah. And so in the Arie, first of all, so Joe Rogan, you know, he addressed that and said that he'll do better with having, you know, acknowledging, you know, facts a little more, or having actual experts present facts and different points of view around that. But in the Arie came on, entered the chat, and She put this post out that said, "I've decided to pull my music and podcast from Spotify. Neil Young opened a door that I must walk through. I believe in freedom of speech. However, I find Joe Rogan problematic for the reasons other than his COVID interviews. For me, it's also his language around race." And she continues, "What I'm talking about is respect, who gets it, who doesn't, paying musicians a fraction of a penny and him 100 million. This shows the type of company they are and the company they keep. I'm tired." End quote.
Oh my God. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So she went on to clarify. Let me see if I can find it. I want to make sure that I can't find it right off the top. Okay. It'll take me a second. But she actually, like the trades and blogs picked up on her on her quote, right? And so she did a video where she, clarified it and played a montage of Joe Rogan saying the N-word. Mm-hmm. We use it on here too, but it's in context. I want to saying the N-word and then referring to what seemingly is referring to black people as apes. That's Planet of the Apes.
It was an episode, and I saw that episode, and he was talking about a black neighborhood and said it's kind of like the Planet of the Apes movie or something like that. But, just to put some framework around it. Yeah.
And so, that has been making the rounds and making it very, putting some pressure on Joe Rogan, and he had to come out and address it, and he issued an apology, saying that, he understands that, there should be no reason that a white person uses that word. He understands that now. Like, dude, you didn't understand that before when you were saying it? No, you ain't stupid.
But I think a lot of things. We'll start with that and then work our way back to India Arie and her claim about the money, right?
Right.
If you've watched our show any kind of time, right? We say a lot of stuff, right? Some of it's funny, some of it's not funny, right? You don't know if a joke is going to be funny until after it leaves your mouth. But one of the things that I think we do a very good job with is bringing it back around and putting some intelligence, some feeling, and some meaning to what we say and the jokes that we tell. If you went back through 5 of our episodes and clipped out just the jokes and made a montage reel of just the jokes and put that out, we would look like the biggest assholes on the planet. Because what you've done is you removed all of the context from the joke, the show, and the series of shows. So it's not a fair representation to do that and just say, take clips of the N-word and put it together and say, he says the N-word. So that's the first thing that I would say, right? It's not fair. If you look at it and within context, he's like, yo, F them niggas, them dirty dumb niggas, right? If that were the case, then I would say crucify him. But I've watched a lot of Joe Rogan's content, and that is not the case. He's not that person.
Okay, on that point, again, he's not stupid. He's a very intelligent dude. He has very, and decent viewpoints on stuff, right? But understanding as far as when it comes to race, and I feel the same way. Unless it's a news organization quoting someone for a particular reason, quoting someone, right? And you see that on the news where they'll say, for the purposes of the story, we're going to allow this language because it lends to the story, right? I don't think that's what he was doing. I think for him, he was trying to make a joke. And again, I can't speak to, because I haven't heard the full episodes, but even on context, you understand how offensive that word is to Black Americans. And the reason why we've snatched that word up and we use it as it's as empowering. Like, what's up, my nigga? Like how we talk with each other. We've taken it and go, you can't use it at all. There's no reason for him to say it. He has no reason. He has no good reason to say it, especially in the context of how he was using it. He was trying to be funny. And again, as a comedic leaning person, I understand humor. I understand what the intent behind humor. I think for him though, it just is out of place. I mean, and that many times over a span of I don't know how many years I don't think Joe
has been doing this podcast for a very, very, very long time. Right. We just went to Spotify, like a year or two ago. He's got thousands of episodes under his belt. He's been doing this for a very long time.
What's my man that got canceled for yakking off in front of people?
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K. Louis C.K. has a very funny bit where he uses the N-word, right? Mm-hmm. And listening to it, watching him perform that joke, it was edgy, but I understood the joke and it was funny. He's not out here just saying it in his comedy just for no reason. There was a reason for it, and I understood the joke. I don't think Joe Rogan was doing that.
But
that was like a one time.
But how can we say that? How can we say that without knowing the full context in which it was said, right? If we just look at the clip.
I would say because of the frequency of it.
I haven't seen Arie's video. How many times?
It was a lot. Let me see.
Less than 20?
Hold on. N-word. Joe Rogan N-word mashup. All right, folks. Yeah, of course, there's a commercial before it. Of course, because sell that. People sell that one. So as soon as this ad ends, I'm going to play the original video of Joe Rogan saying the N-word. Here it is.
Some more
No, I don't want to hear you, dude. All right.
Is just like saying she's calling you like this boy that he's starts calling them word. There should be a word like, especially like the word that's about. He says guy, and they're saying allowed to use the word out the word.
These are different shows.
Right. So, it sounds like just from that clip, it sounds like it's within the context of a conversation, right? I didn't hear anywhere, but I didn't hear anywhere where he was like, them niggas. Right.
Well, I mean, it's hard to pull it out because it's edited, it's beeped. I'm trying to see if there's a clip. All right, here's the Arie.
Why I decided to ask my music be pulled off of Spotify. So check this out.
No white people. It says, okay, take me to this one. And the guy goes, okay. I goes, is that in a good neighborhood? He's like, oh, yeah. Guy barely speaks English. He takes us there. We get out and we're giggling. Oh, we're going to see Planet of the Apes. We walk into Planet of the Apes. We walked into Africa, dude. We walked in the door and there was no white people. It says, okay, take.
I empathize with the people who are leaving for the COVID disinformation reasons, and I think that they should. I also think that Joe Rogan has the right to say what he wants to say. I also think that I have the right to say what I want to say. So as an artist,
there's more.
Spotify is built on the back of the music streaming. So they take this money that's built from streaming and they pay this guy $100 million, but they pay us 0.003% of a penny. Just take me off. I don't want to generate money that pays this. Just take me off. That's where I'm at. And I know that I'm actually, to be honest with you, surprised that my statements were picked up because I thought people weren't really going to listen to me because that's what I'm used to from the industry. But I'm glad that I am being heard, and for that reason, I want to clarify my statements. Again, this is why. Watch this.
Hold on, can we pause? Can we pause for a second?
Saying the word nigger.
Okay.
Because I want to address that and we can come back. Because look, I agree with her. I agree with her in that the royalties that music streaming services pay artists is ridiculous, right? It is a ridiculously low number, and they should pay them more.
There's a but.
There's a huge but.
Okay.
There was also a great joke there, but I'm gonna leave it alone. You never in life do you get paid what you are worth. Let that sink in. No one is ever in the history of ever paid what they're worth. You're paid what you negotiate.
Sure.
So if you were making money, and I'd say this when I say you, I mean artists, especially an artist who's been in the industry like Arie before streaming was a thing. You were making money off of concerts, CD and album sales, digital downloads, and then streaming became a thing, and you jumped into the streaming ring. You looked at the contract, you saw that the rates were low as hell, but you signed the contract anyway. You didn't need streaming. What do you mean?
I don't think it worked that one. I don't think it worked that way. I mean, I don't know her specific deal. I think a lot of the artists whose music are on the streaming platforms that had legacy projects or whatever, then they may not be the ones that controlling their masters, which sounds like in the context of this conversation sounds crazy, but the record labels controlled where it went, and they worked out those deals were worked out. The percentage, this is super inside, but the percentages of what artists are paid per record was always ridiculously low.
Yes.
You get a fraction of a point for a whole album that you produced. That it's always been some slave labor type shit already.
100%.
So streaming comes in and goes, we'll top that because we're not selling physical albums. Well, it's only 99 cents. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to give you 0.1 of a penny.
Look.
Word. So, I mean, I don't think, again, it's always been a problem in terms of, especially when it comes to, major deals or whatever, and what artists were paid from their actual record sales. Then comes the conversation about owning your own content, owning your material, because the labels usually own the masters, own the music. So that's a whole nother thing. So I do get her point, though. I get her point 100%.
I get her point mostly, right? So if it didn't work that way and she didn't have the power to negotiate the deal getting on the streaming service, then she doesn't have the power to pull her music off of the streaming service. So all of this is just nonsense, right? So if she has any power, any say, I guess my point was she was profitable without the streaming service, right? So she didn't really have to be there. I get it. I agree that those percentages across the board are terrible, right? But I think she's got it a little bit backwards. Joe Rogan is paid $100 million to be on Spotify because he draws people to Spotify. And now that people are in Spotify, they might search and listen to other shit, including your music. People ain't coming there for you. Not like that. You don't have the audience that he has. That's not an insult. That's just a fact. Joe Rogan has a bigger audience than some broadcast networks. So it's your money ain't paying him. It's not. His money is not. Your money is not paying him. The audience that he brings to the table, that's the money that's paying him. And that's why he's doing the mea culpa, right? That's why he's out there apologizing and all of that shit. Now, let me say something about this and we can keep going. Yeah. The Planet of the Apes comment, his ass need to be roasted for that. Can't defend that one.
Within context, it's still fucked up.
Within context, that was fucked
comedians. Up. It's still fucked up. Here's more.
Saying the word nigger. You've already said is just she's calling you. It's like this boy that he but starts calling word. There should be a word, especially.
I'm sorry. This is annoying to me because it's muting it, and maybe we should allow it to be muted, but it does. You don't really get the point of what they're saying and how many times they're saying it and how many different episodes they're saying it. I mean, that. So I'll just stop it there.
I think you can get that the frequency of it, right? So if your position, if anyone's position, I don't mean you specifically, but if anyone's position is there is no context ever that he should say that word, then the frequency becomes an issue, right? Because your position is once is one time too many.
You should be saying it. Yeah.
But if
I mean, obviously there are nuances to that now. Don't get me wrong. Again, we just talked about Louis C.K. I don't want him telling that joke over and over and over, though. That's one joke. You got that one. It's like that's your one pass. All right. That was funny. Move on.
But the reality is he will tell that joke over and over and over. You'll only see it once. Right? If it's material that kills, he's going to tell that in every venue he goes into. Right? So, look, I think context matters, right? And I think context matters a lot. I am not the person that is of the belief that there is no situation ever where a non-black person should say that word. I don't. If in a lot of cases, it sounds like just from those clips that they were trying to have a conversation about it. How do you have a conversation about it without saying it? Right? A real genuine conversation anyway. So, I get it.
I mean, okay. All right. Fact of this. Most of these conversations from what I saw, it was a room full of white people. So you're having a conversation about the N-word amongst yourselves, laughing amongst yourselves, and there's no person of no person of color representation to go, nah, you shouldn't say that. You should, or to give some sort of context, or to, to nothing. It's just you and these cats, these white dudes. It's a room full of white dudes telling nigga jokes. Is that ever cool?
But I don't think that's the case. But
that's what it was, and it was captured on a podcast. Multiple times.
We don't know that from that clip. All we know from that clip is that the word was used frequently. It removes complete context. It's like 2 seconds. And it's like boom, and then boom, and then boom, and then boom. Right. But look, let's say that's the case. Right. Let's say, and for the record, just an aside, the more I do this, the more I feel myself becoming more disliked. Let's say your position is valid, right? Let's say that a conversation about that word, people of color, things that concern people of color, should not be had without representation in the room. I find that problematic. So here's how I operate, just a peek into my brain. Any sweeping concept should be able to be applied universally in order for it to be accepted as something that we should be doing, right? If it's a niche thing that only applies in a niche situation, then we probably shouldn't be looking at rolling that out as something that affects society as a whole, because it's very, very problematic to deal with it, right? Okay. So now if we take that concept and we apply it universally, that means we can't sit in the barbershop and talk about white people. We can't sit in the barbershop and talk about Asians in our communities and how they come in and, that thing. I'm not even going to go too deep into that. Just in general, like one of the hot topics amongst our community, how other groups of people come into our community, open up businesses, profit from our community, but put nothing back in the community. We can't have that conversation without them being in the room.
That's not true. That's not true at all. And that's left and right of each other, because it depends on the language that you're using as you're having that conversation. We're talking about one of the most offensive word that we can think of, right? We have ancestors that was the last word they heard as they swung from a tree. So understanding the context, there are nuances, but it's the historical context that that lends to how I'm looking at it. and how most people look at it. Now you can't say that word because your ancestors or whoever it was, y'all came up with that word as to be disparaging. We took it and make it empowering. You no longer have you no longer have a right to use it. Period. And for the most part, it's some white privilege shit where white folks go, well, why can't I say it? I want to say it. Everybody can say it. It's in the music. I can sing along with the music, right? You're missing the historical context of it. And what we already said, no, you can't say it. So all that, and he understands that. What's really offensive about it is he understands that. He knew that before he said it. He knew that.
I will concede that an apology that says I was unaware is bullshit, right? Especially for that individual. He is a very, very smart man. So yeah, I will concede that mea culpa is garbage. Right? Like,
I'll give it. Let me see, because I do want to give him some credit for.
I'm making this video to talk about the most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly. There's a video that's out that's a compilation of me saying the N-word. It's a video that's made of clips taken out of context of me of 12 years of conversations on my podcast, and it's all smushed together, and it looks fucking horrible, even to me. Now, I know that to most people, there's no context where a white person is ever allowed to say that word, never mind publicly on a podcast. And I agree with that now. I haven't said it in years, but for a long time, when I would bring that word up, like if it would come up in conversation, instead of saying the N-word, I would just say the word. I thought as long as it was in context, people would understand what I was doing. Like that context was part of the clip we were talking.
Sorry. As I said, it's my birthday, and so family is calling me.
How Red Fox said that word on television in the 1970s, and how times have changed so much since then. Or about how Richard Pryor used it as one of the titles of one of his albums. Or I was quoting a Lenny Bruce bit, or I was quoting a Paul Mooney bit, or I was talking about how Quentin Tarantino used it repeatedly in Pulp Fiction. Or I was talking about how a Netflix executive, ironically, used it because he was trying to compare it to another offensive word, and he said it out loud, and they fired him. Not calling anybody or just saying the word out loud. I was also talking about how there's not another word like it in the entire English language, because it's a word where only one group of people is allowed to use it, and they can use it in so many different ways. Like if a white person says that word, it's racist and toxic, but a black person can use it and it could be a punchline. It could be a term of endearment. It could be lyrics to a rap song. It could be a positive affirmation. It's a very unusual word.
All right. You get the point. You can kind of search it out. And
I mean, he lost me on the comparisons. Like when he was talking about Lenny Bruce and Richard Pryor, he lost me on that. Like, yeah. And if it were anybody else, I think I probably wouldn't have been lost, right? I'd have just not brushed it off, but I would have written it off as you're just stupid. But he is not stupid, right? Which is like, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
The comparisons, he loses me with that.
So all that to say, and even with this, I will say he shouldn't be canceled. I'm not one saying that we need to get rid of Joe Rogan, because I do view him as somewhat of an ally. You know what I mean? Not that he's been on the front lines, championing Black Lives Matter or anything like that, but I don't think of him as, a Klan leader. You know what I mean? I just think, he misjudged, what he was doing and what he was saying.
And I think those
over and over.
I think those two things are the extreme scale. So I'm glad you said those two things so we can put, some pillars here, right? There's the leader of the group who historically disliked people of color, because I don't know if that K word or C word is going to get us flagged by YouTube. And then
and that's another thing. That right there will tell you also, you can't say that word anywhere.
Right.
He dared not say that.
Right. So there's that end of the spectrum, and then there's the other end of the spectrum, you know, out on the front line getting maced, right? I think most of people of every color exist in the middle, right? I think it's a small percentage on either end, and most people exist in the middle. But Joe Rogan specifically, having watched hours upon hours upon hours of his content, I view him as a conversation starter. He does not have the answer. He has a lot of questions. He genuinely wants to get answers to the questions. He genuinely wants solutions. He genuinely likes people. He's not a prick or an asshole. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he greatly misjudged. And again, I will say for the record, he should be roasted for that Planet of the Apes shit.
Absolutely.
I mean, that one was bad. That was real bad.
Tar and feather him on that. But, you know, just completely canceling, get rid of Joe. I don't think so, you know.
And it's a lot of people who are like, it was a big group of Hollywood folks who are out there like cancel Joe Rogan, and they Spotify has pulled like 70 episodes of his show off the platform.
Yeah.
You know this is going to affect his money. It's going to affect his sponsorships.
And it should.
It should, for sure.
But I don't think he should go away completely.
I don't either. God.
It's like what's my man on HBO? Oh, I can't remember people's names these days. Who does it's not politically incorrect. What's his new show on HBO?
Bill Maher, Trevor Noah.
Bill Maher.
Okay.
Bill Maher said something offensive. I can't remember if he said the N-word. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was something along them lines. And he had to apologize. And then he had Ice Cube on the show, who publicly let him know, hey, we ain't that cool. Well, I mean, what gives you the audacity or think we cool enough? You got too familiar. We not that cool. You can never say that.
Which, you know what?
Bill Maher was like, you're right. I stand corrected. No mas.
I have a level of respect for someone who does some fucked up shit and will sit across the table from somebody else and have a discussion about their fucked up shit. I mean, you know, and concede where they need to concede and not concede where they don't. But so yeah, Joe, he's under fire for that clip, but that follows the COVID stuff, which I'm going to bleep that out because we can't say that word. That's a trigger word for YouTube. So we will say things associated with the global pandemic.
Virus.
We'll say that. Right?
Or this virus. Right.
So yeah, he's under fire for that. And I think even with that, people aren't looking at the full scope and scale, right? You can't expect a comedian, fight enthusiast, and podcast host to be a medical expert. What he does is he brings on medical experts. He should be allowed to say what he thinks and how he feels, and then have how he thinks and how he feels judged, weighted, dealt with by medical experts. One of the best and most enlightening episodes of that podcast that I watched was the one he did with Sanjay Gupta. I encourage everybody to go watch it. I encourage everybody to go and watch it. It's long, something like 3 hours, I believe. But they deal with the rumors. They deal with what he took, the medication cocktail he took when he contracted it, the virus.
Right.
They deal with the numbers, right? How many people are actually succumbing to this versus how it's kind of reported. And this is Sanjay Gupta, right? Who is a medical professional who other reputable news sources are using to talk about this information. So I worry about the world, bro. I worry about not being able to talk. I worry about that a lot.
Yeah.
Look, whether I agree with what he says or don't agree with what he says, what I do like about all of it, and whether he's canceled or not canceled, is that the market really kind of gets to decide. I just want the market to be intelligent. And if the market says, yo, I don't care what your context is, what your reason is, you shouldn't be saying anything about the pandemic or about the N-word. And we are going to levy our vote by not consuming your content. If that happens in big enough numbers, he will change. Spotify will do something. His sponsors will do something because he is paid off of his audience. And if his audience goes away, then all of his money goes away. So that the woke machine that wants to rally and cancel a person, I'm like, that ain't really necessary. Just put it out there.
Yeah.
Just put it out there and let people decide for themselves.
Yeah. I think we can bookmark it there. Okay.
You blowing up today.
I told you I told you what it was, and I figured this would be happening. And so I'll just bring him up on here because he didn't get the cue. This is my son, Terrence Jr.
What in the world?
Son, you are on my podcast. You are on. Welcome to Unpopin show, man.
I appreciate.
Hey.
Hi. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I figured that's why you was calling. I've been getting text messages and everything while I've been recording. And I said the first person that called me, I'm just bringing them on the show. Like, cause I saw you called me the first time, and I put you on hold so you could hear what we were doing. You did hear it.
I didn't realize I was on hold. No, I had no idea. I just figured you were recording or something.
Yeah, see, you gotta take the cues, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm heading to work.
Heading to work.
Waiting for a train right now.
All right. Mike, this is my oldest son. You don't remember I don't know if you remember Mike from Atlanta. We worked together at Hot 107.9. But he remembers me bringing you to meetings as an infant.
What's going on, man?
Am I lying?
No, you ain't lying.
I'm doing all right. Did I behave like a good child? Like,
nah.
I said infant. As an infant, yeah, I remember bringing you to meetings. I remember bringing you. I was on the air. I had mixed show. I had to put you in the little carrier behind the DJ booth as I went on the air. So yeah,
I couldn't walk yet.
Not at that point. No. When you started walking, I did not bring you around like that because having to chase a toddler through a radio station does not sound like fun to me.
I mean, it sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, no. But I appreciate the call, son. Love you very much. Thank you so much.
Good. No problem.
What'd you get me? What'd you get me?
I got you the everlasting joy of unconditional love.
Nah, I want something tangible.
Who said love is intangible?
I want something tangible. I want something like a PS5.
Nobody can even get those.
You get a PS5? Yeah, see, that's why it will be impressive if you got me one. See, that's what I'm talking about. I'm kidding. You know I don't care about no PS5. But I appreciate the call, man. Enjoy your day at work, man.
Of course. Thank you. I'm hopping on the train now. I'll talk to you later.
All right, talk to you later.
All right.
All right, bye.
All right.
Man,
My oldest son.
I don't think I've seen your son in person since he was like, 3 or 4, something like that.
Really? Wow, yeah, that's been a while.
No. So how far apart is he and Tyler?
They're 2 years apart.
Yeah, so he might have been like 3 or 4 the last time I saw him.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. Because I left Atlanta after that too. We went to Pittsburgh. Not long. So we were gone. But But enough of the geology lesson, people. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you listening. Thank you for all those who reached out to wish me happy birthday. I share this day. I say it every year. I share this day with President Ronald Reagan and Bob Marley. So, I lean towards the Bob Marley.
You don't like Ronnie Reagan?
I mean, I'm trying not to say anything disparaging about the deceased, so I'll leave it alone. He aight. He aight. Anyway, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, share, comment, become a part of this Unpopin community that we are building here. And man, we appreciate you. We'll see you on the flip side. If you're watching on YouTube or on our website, unpopinshow.com, make sure you also follow us on all socials at Unpopin Show, and you get to see some exclusive content on our website as well. Again,
and shout out on the way out of the door. Shout out to our new subscribers, Tiff Diamond, Bijan, and Ubi. Thanks for joining the Unpoppin community.
Thank you. Peace.